this afternoon we are honored that the Honorable Lisa Naylor, the Minister for Transportation, Infrastructure, Consumer Protection, and Government Services, is joining us. Minister Naylor was first elected as the MLA for Wolseley in 2019 and sworn into office in October 2023. She served the official opposition critic for environment and climate change, critic for municipal relations, and deputy caucus chair. She is also a former vice chair and finance chair with the School Division Board and has also served as the Area 6 Director of the Mountain School Board Association. But you can't do a transportation conference without the Minister of Transportation here, so we are thrilled that the Minister for Transportation, Honorable Lisa Naylor, can provide us with some comments.
Thank you very much, Chuck. I think it would be possible to do the symposium with the Minister of Transportation, but it's like that should go better. I appreciate the introduction, and I want to thank the Thompson Chamber of Commerce for the invitation to join you all here today, and the opportunity to be a participant in this symposium. I understand this is the first event of its kind, which our government is also pleased to provide some sponsorship. And judging from the level of participation, there is clearly a great need for the opportunity to collaborate within the transportation industry and to explore opportunities for the North. I also really want to thank Alden Robinson for starting us off in a good way this morning with prayer, and thanks to Chris from Arctic Gateway Group for providing the land acknowledgement. I am very grateful to be here on Treaty 5 territory today. It's my pleasure to bring you greetings on behalf of our government and the Honorable Wong Kim, Premier of Manitoba. I'm really excited to share with you about our government's approach to northern transportation since taking office last October. First, I'll share a summary of the role of Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure. MTI is responsible for the development of transportation policy and legislation and for the management of the province's vast infrastructure network, which includes over 19,000 kilometers of all-weather roads and another almost 2,400 kilometers of winter roads each season. Our assets also include interchanges, bridges, dams, dikes, reservoirs, flood protection, drainage improvements, culverts, as well as 23 northern airports and 4 ferries. Manitoba holds a unique economic and geographical position in the country and on the continent, with gateways linking the province to trade in the east, west, north, and south. And I know we talked a lot today about all of the trade in all of those directions. I know Jim Berscheid had referenced the MOU that was signed between Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta back in the spring of 2023. So I want to let folks know that although that's previous government, I have been back to Saskatchewan. I was there in July meeting with those same ministers to continue that conversation and to reconfirm our commitment to the MOU and to continue to look at the work we can do together. And I'm quite confident that our provinces will continue to work together in the interest of Manitoba economic development. Transportation in the North plays an important role in our common goal of achieving business growth and prosperity. It is also critical for providing access to healthcare and other important services. Our government is committed to developing solutions to provide a safer, efficient, and more reliable transportation network across the province, including northern, remote, and First Nation communities. Economic corridors support supply chains and help drive Manitoba's economy through the development of stronger, more resilient, and more efficient transportation routes to international markets. Challenges like climate change pose a real threat to the transportation network, and we've heard about some of that today, and that's both in this province and across the country. And we will need innovative solutions to prevent and mitigate disruptions. Our government is committed to developing northern economic corridors to boost trade and transportation services. This includes a $98.3 million investment to upgrade highway loading capacity on PR 283 from the Saskatchewan boundary to the POP in support of international, interprovincial, and regional goods movement. I'm happy to hear your response. I'm pretty excited about this project too. The design stage of this exciting project is currently underway, and there will be lots of activity in the next few years to come. In addition to highway investments, our government committed $30 million in our first budget for the redevelopment of the Hudson Bay Railway and the Port of Churchill. I was very pleased in Churchill to witness the first critical mineral shipment out of that port, and really one of the first shipments in decades. It's brought to life the real world value of investing in economic corridors. Investments in northern infrastructure will support good jobs for rural and northern Manitobans, contribute towards the critical mineral supply chain, and help support Manitoba as a partner in interprovincial and international trade. Manitoba recognizes the importance of a viable rail industry that offers efficient and competitive rates and services to our shippers. The Hudson Bay Railway and Port of Churchill are important to our northern communities and businesses as they support economic development, employment, remote community access, and resupply, as well as Indigenous reconciliation. Our government has been so pleased to work both with Canada and with the Arctic Gateway Group as an Indigenous and community-owned corporation operating those assets to support the development of the Port of Churchill as a transportation and supply chain hub for the North. I'll share a few more northern MTI projects that are in the works that will be of interest to this group. First, Provincial Trunk Highway 6. Our multi-year infrastructure investment strategy includes $139.9 million capital investments in surface reconstruction and surface rehabilitation projects on PTH 6 for this critical northern economic corridor connecting northern and southern Manitoba. As you all well know, highways are not just used for transporting goods, but for citizens moving between communities to see family, access services, and for employment. One of the first actions I took when I became minister was to explore the logistics of reinstating the rest stop at Devil's Lake on Highway 6 and adding an additional rest stop near Williams River. We have heard repeatedly from Manitoba Trucking Association, from residents, from your community, and other residents in northern Manitoba, the importance of having bathrooms and garbage facilities along that stretch of road. My colleague, MLA Eric Redhead, was a tireless advocate for this project when we were in opposition and immediately when we were in government. And at my earliest meetings with municipal leaders in this role, it was clearly a priority. And I strongly support the need for a dignified solution to long stretches of highways with no services, and I understand this as a health and safety issue for everyone traveling our highway network. If you have the chance to drive down PTH 6 this season, you will know we have garbage facilities and 3 portable toilets, with one being wheelchair accessible at each location. There are also picnic tables at Devil's Lake. I hope that many of you have had the opportunity to take a rest at one of these locations over the summer months. And thanks to a suggestion from one of your local business leaders here in Thompson, we place signs with QR codes so that folks can easily report any issues with cleanliness, safety, or any problems they may encounter at these sites. I'm also certainly happy to hear your feedback while I'm here with you today and tomorrow. As you know, this project was introduced as a pilot for this season from May long weekend until Thanksgiving. And I'm completely aware that this is a service that is needed all year round and that more permanent facilities would be ideal. We're going to use the data and the experience from these 6 months, the information we gathered from this pilot project to inform our next steps. Another exciting project is the plan to build a new bridge to replace the Sea Falls Ferry crossing over Nelson River on Provincial Road 373. We're in the final stages of developing a cost-share agreement with Norway House Cree Nation to share the cost for rights holder and stakeholder engagement, as well as the preliminary, functional, and detailed design components of a new bridge. Speaking of bridges, it was great to drive over to the airport yesterday and see the work progressing on the bridge rehabilitation here in Thompson on Highway 391 over the Burtwood River. I'm sure you'll all be glad when that work is complete. And we are also currently exploring potential other additional upgrades to Highway 391 to improve safety and support some of the Northern Economic Development projects. As I mentioned earlier, Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure manages the annual construction and maintenance of 2,334 kilometers of the province's winter road network. Each year, 3,000 shipments are delivered to isolated northern communities between mid-January to mid-March using the Winter Roads Network. 21 remote communities in northern, central, and eastern Manitoba rely on these roads. There are two types of winter roads. There's over land and over ice, and over the past 2 decades, about 600 kilometers of the winter road system has been moved from lakes and rivers onto land to further improve safety, reduce environmental risks, promote sustainability, and adapt to climate change. I'm looking forward to hearing from one of our employees, Doug Jansen, who's the Northern Roads Manager with MTI, who will be speaking in much more detail on the subject of winter roads. As each of these projects continue, our newly minted Blue Ribbon Panel that our government appointed, our Blue Ribbon Panel on Infrastructure, is looking ahead to advise our government on key priorities, particularly in rural and northern parts of the province. So the membership has representation from across the province, from across industry, so that there's a lot of different perspectives at the table. But we do have 2 northern representatives on the panel, so that includes Chief Larson Anderson from Norway House Cree Nation, as well as, he's here somewhere, Mayor Andre Murphy from the PAW. Brings the northern voice and perspective to that table. I know their recommendations will inform a vision for northern and rural economic development. And finally, before I wrap up, I wanted to talk a little bit about airports. There are dozens of municipal airports throughout the province that all receive a small operational grant through my department. And I have been hearing for a very long time that this grant has not increased in over 20 years, which has put additional strain on municipalities whose funding had been frozen by the previous government for 6 years. So I was very pleased to have the opportunity to double those airport grants in our first budget. And on a much bigger scale, Manitoba has contributed $15 million towards the redevelopment of the Thompson Regional Airport. We recognize the airport as a key hub for freight emergency evacuations, as well as daily passenger services in northern Manitoba, and I'm really looking forward to touring the site later today. In addition, our government has also committed to building an airport at Wasagamak First Nation, and we will continue to invest in airports and ferry operations that service isolated and remote northern communities. Before I conclude, somebody owes me 2 bucks, I think, right?
Opportunity for everybody, remember the rule.
Before I conclude, I do want to make a special note of gratitude to our transportation and infrastructure staff who work in all seasons to improve and maintain our transportation network right across the province. We have local members of our team here today. I hope you have a chance to talk to folks. And along with MTI Deputy Minister Ryan Kloss, who has joined me for the symposium today, or this weekend. Our government values working with northern municipalities. We know it is essential to partner with First Nations and other Indigenous leadership to best understand priorities and needs in northern and remote communities. We also really value our partnership with the Thompson Chamber of Commerce and the Manitoba Chamber and other chambers throughout the province as well, as we work towards a common mission and vision to ensure safe and sustainable services for Manitobans while connecting people and communities in the north. Thank you for your time today.